Hello, welcome to yet another edition of Top Shot, a program which is increasingly watched by the people to understand how the issues that we discuss in this program impact their own lives. And we call a very distinguished personality to share his ideas, his vision, his views with us on such subjects. Today I'm very fortunate to have Mr. Shiv Khera in the midst of us, the person who has written so many books, he has conducted so many programs, and now he is on a mission to change the country. So, Mr. Shiv Khera, welcome to this program. And in fact, for long I've been reading your book, and now you just suddenly change your identity in terms of a crusader, not just a reader. I mean, not from for me like a reader looking at you, but now I'm watching you as a crusader. How did this change take place about now you'll run a campaign for changing the country?
Well, Suresh ji, मेरे को कई लोगों ने कहा है, they've asked me, you become an activist. I'd love to address this word activist. Anybody who is active in society is called an activist. Yeah. Now, question is, for a democracy to function properly, how can a citizen be inactive? That's the question, number one. And if they...
Sorry, you said activist is like a word saying thinker, because sometimes I also wonder about this word thinker.
How can
there be a person who's not a thinker?
Not a thinker. Now, is a Rotarian activist? He organizes a blood donation camp. Is a Lion an activist? Of course he is an activist. A JC is an activist. Of course, each one of us is actively involved in some kind of a function, and how can we not be involved? So yes, you are right. We have an organization called Country First with a vision, respect and dignity for every citizen. Why did we take this as a vision? For the simple reason, I feel very strongly that in a country where an honest citizen is afraid of their own police, their own judicial system, and their own government, is that freedom or is that slavery? And I have addressed many places. The moment I put this question, is this freedom or is this slavery, everyone says it is slavery, and question is, are we free as a nation? And the mission of Country First is freedom through education and justice. Can we have freedom without education and justice? That's one. And two, how do we define freedom is when an honest citizen can pursue a legal avenue and bring peace, prosperity, and happiness to himself, his family, and society. Well, the question is, do we have that one? Well, the answer is no. So that is why we have taken on as a crusade. And interestingly, we are an educated class, so-called educated class. And many times I question this, people talking like this, देखिए साहब, intellectual तो हम लोग यहाँ पे बैठे हैं, and people who are non-intellectuals are running the country. I question, if you are intellectual, how come you are here and they are not, and you are not there? I mean, if you were really intellectual, you'd be there. You are really pseudo-intellectual here. It's a very contradiction here. But most important thing is that I feel unless the educated people get involved in the freedom struggle, we will never see freedom. If you look at the independence struggle for any country, look at United States, India. I was reading 1776 in US, 56 people signed a proclamation of independence against the Britishers. Yeah. And they declared independence. And the moment they signed, they committed treason, they had a price on their head. Yeah. And guess the profile of what those people were. 26 of them were judges and lawyers, 15 were professionals, and rest were traders, business people, and farmers. They were family people, they had children in the home, they were landlords, and they were moneyed people. And the moment they signed, they had a price on their head. Each one was a hunted person, and they had a lot to lose, and they all lost. Their women raped, homes burned, the children were tortured, they all lost. That's how America got independence. तब मैं सोच रहा था उस time कि I started comparing India's freedom struggle. You look at the profile of our freedom fighters, Gandhi, Nehru, C.R. Das, Veer Savarkar, Ambedkar, Netaji. You just look at all these people, they were all barristers from England. And who did barristry in those days? It was a very paying profession. But when they came to India, they did not go into the court and started making money. They came on the street and went to the jails. Yeah. They had all of them had a lot to lose, and they all lost. आज देखिए आप सरदार पटेल का परिवार चित्रों में है साहब. आज नेताजी का परिवार is in bad shape. You look at Bhagat Singh's family. His mother, nobody was there till the last day to look after her. What a disgrace. They had a lot to lose and they all lost. And that's why you and I are free today. If they had not sacrificed.
So you are talking about an institution, an organization, a struggle to bring about freedom, you said. Freedom, now, actually speaking, rest of the world looks at India as one of the most free countries. In fact, we are always seen as the biggest democracy in the world. So how do you think we are not free?
Well, first of all, let me qualify this word. I heard this a million times, we're the biggest democracy in the world. I think we're the biggest hypocrisy in the world. Let me qualify this statement. One, a survey was conducted by Lok Sabha, the Jayaprakash Narayan from Hyderabad. He said 40% of your electoral lists are wrong. And another survey where he said over 22% people who had casted their ballot were either dead or never went to cast the ballot. 22%. 1% can change the fate of the whole thing. Yeah, you are talking 22%. Now you just figure out. A scientific survey tells you this. Number two, in a country where a constituency is reserved like Karol Bagh in Delhi, a person has to be a SC to stand from there. Now, I was talking to somebody the other day. The population, that constituency has 15 lakh people, voters, and SC is about 3 lakhs only. So that means only 3 lakh people are qualified to stand for election from that place. And if 90% people want somebody else to be elected, they cannot. So that means 75 to 80% people are disqualified to stand for election or elect their own representative. And 122 constituencies are like this in the Lok Sabha and 1080 in the Vidhan Sabhas. Imagine 80%. Yeah. You tell me one thing. What kind of democracy is this? Where 80% people are disqualified even though they live there, they want to stand up for election and they want their own representative to be elected, they cannot do it.
But there is a provision in the constitution that anybody can contest from anywhere in the country. So
well, anyway, they can't contest from there. If all my life, if I 50 years I have lived in one constituency, why should I go to another constituency? You tell me one thing. Yeah. So why should I go there?
So coming back to the point, you said a very interesting thing that education is a very important thing, and in fact, in the freedom struggle of India, we had all the educated people who were leading the movement. But those days, the percentage of literacy was far less than what it is today.
Absolutely.
In fact, pre-independence, our literacy rates were highest, in fact, anywhere in the world. Even today, we have a large number of illiterate people. But that means the freedom struggle was won by illiterates too, because if they were not the ones who had supported the literate leaders, it did not happen.
Of course.
So therefore, the literacy and illiteracy is a issue which, in fact, definitely important. But in terms of getting freedom, really, it's illiterate who maybe cannot be very good in letters, but they had a heart in the right place.
Absolutely.
And therefore they fought for it.
Absolutely.
So how do you think it is creating a problem today?
Well, you see, it's not the, Suresh, it's not the literacy or illiteracy, it is the educated people. Yeah. Now, educated people doesn't have to have a degree. Yeah. A person without a degree could be educated, and a person with a degree could be uneducated too. So degree only means...
It's not a formal education you're talking
about.
It
only means that a person has a lot of information. A person who has a PhD means a person has a lot of information in that area, that's all. Now, they may be educated, may not be educated. Yeah. So that's another side of the picture. But yes, you are right. It is the spirit of the entire nation. But the most important thing is that if you look at the leadership at that time, the leadership, they were concerned about the nation. they had one common goal, and the goal was to get rid of the Britishers. That was only one goal, and that is what united everybody together. So, you कहते हैं साहब, there are different kinds of friendships. When you have a common enemy goes, friendship goes also. And that is what happens. But you see, we need to think of the words that Bhagat Singh said before he died, he was hanged. He said, our biggest danger is not from the Britishers. He said, they are foreigners. ये तो गोरे हैं साहब. You see, from a distance you can tell a foreigner, a Britisher, one day or the other they have no choice, they have to leave. उनको तो रास्ता ही नहीं है. They have to go out from this country because they are foreigners, and you can tell a Britisher from a distance.
They are very conspicuous by
Yes, he said our danger lies not from Gore Angrez. He said our danger lies from Kale Angrez. This is the word he used. Kale Angrez, who shall betray the nation, and we will not be able to tell who amongst us is a patriot and who is a traitor, because you see, we can't distinguish between us. They look alike. How will we be able to tell who is a traitor and who is a patriot?
So, this education is an important instrument of
Crucial.
bringing about a change, as you said. Now, during freedom struggle also there was a big debate going on that what we really need first, political freedom or social emancipation. In fact, there was a very famous ideological fight between Tilak and Agarkar. Tilak was advocating political freedom first. Agarkar was saying we need social freedom first. Now here the question is, education is probably a issue that can be debated in this way, that whether we need educated people to lead the movement to bring about country first, or we need to educate all so that it will happen automatically. So what should be the priority? Should we educate everybody first so automatically that will lead to such enlightenment that people will understand and they will make the informed choice?
The question is, how can one go without the other? That's one. And number two, what comes first? You see, I feel very strongly that the people of India have not let down the leadership, but our leadership has let down our people. Because always culture flows from the top, bottom, never bottom up, always top down. So that is one. आज की तारीख में आप देखिए, whatever they call the literacy rate is high. You know something? They have changed the definition of literacy to suit them. Anybody who can write their name is called a literate.
Functional literate.
नाम लिख सकते हो, literate हो गया. इसका literacy का मतलब आपके numbers बढ़ गए, आपने statistics change करा दी, you are a progressive nation. What a joke. So that is another side. When they talk in terms of poverty, look at the last surveys, or some people brought up even in the papers, that 75% of India is living at 20 rupees a day. 20 rupees a day. And one is called poverty, the second is called extreme poverty. And then they have definitions based on caloric intake, and then they have the definition based on $1 a day, which is the United Nations, whatever. They change definitions the way it suits them.
And if the dollar is falling, I think the poverty level also should fall.
But regardless, सबसे बड़ी बात ये है कि आज अब 60 साल में जान के इन लोगों ने, the politicians have kept their people illiterate on purpose. Because more unenlightened the citizens are, I'm using the word unenlightened, the lesser correct choices they will make. The more enlightened citizens are, the better choices they will make. And hence, they can choose between right and wrong.
How your organization, in fact, when you said you are trying to now build up a movement, a crusade, what's the roadmap for that? Because these are the several ills of India. The caste system is a very big problem for India. It's a stigma, really. In fact, Mahatma Gandhi really fought for it. But as Vinoba Bhave had said once, that jo jati nahi, wo jati hai, jo kabhi jati nahi. So it has remained, unfortunately, as integral part of our psyche. But that's definitely the point that we really need to, an issue that we really need to address. What I'm saying is, how is your organization? What should be the roadmap? For example, you are saying that education is an important thing. There's no doubt about it. Now, you also mentioned that education, just not education, but enlightenment. Now, how do you transform people from being just educated to enlightened?
देखिए, हमारा country first का उद्देश्य क्या है? We have 3 elements we have taken on. One, we have taken the route of the judiciary. We have filed 3 PILs. And the second is, we are going into the masses, the public, and running public addresses where we want to get a public opinion based on it. If people agree, fine. If they don't agree, fine. That's okay. But let them make a judgment on both sides of the picture. We have taken 3 issues. Number 1, electoral reforms.
Yeah.
We have requested the Supreme Court where they must give an option on the ballot paper, none of the above.
Yeah.
Now today, 50% people don't go to vote.
Yeah.
Now, if you ask them, many of us indifferent. I think this citizenship should be taken away.
But there is a law of the land, in fact. If somebody wants to exercise it, he can do it.
Well, he can.
Yeah.
But the second part is, many times you ask them, why don't you go to vote? They say, well, who do I vote for?
Yeah.
They are candidates who are, none of them are to my liking. Either they are criminal records. So what do? Either they go to vote to caste, or they go to religion, or they go and vote for the least worst criminal. And you make him win. Now the person who was the weakest criminal, by winning, he has become the strongest criminal now. This is what is happening. So what we have requested the Supreme Court, that there must be an option for people to say none of the above. If more than 50% people take that option, then all these people should be disqualified from that constituency for only that one and one upcoming election. I met Mr. Lindo about 2 months ago.
The former chief election
commissioner. He had a very similar message to that effect. He said if 51% people vote for highest or based on something formula, then it was something similar to this one. But he was talking the same language.
So this is your first point.
One point.
Yeah.
Number 2, there must be a witness protection plan.
The second point is
we must have a witness protection plan so that honest citizen can get justice.
Okay.
Otherwise, you will for the rest of our lives keep seeing cases like the Priyadarshini Mattu, the Jessica Lal, BMWs, and they'll keep happening. By the way, these are only the prominent cases. There are millions of them that are like this, which are unreported.
Absolutely. The second point.
And the third, we have challenged the 93rd constitutional amendment, which says that the reservations that are caste-based, what we are saying, we want reservation, not partition. Reservation should be based on economics ground and not on caste. And that is my third part.
Yeah, so Mr. Shiv Khera, we are talking about all these issues, and you just mentioned about 3 of your points, and I'm sure you want to talk a little more. But we'll just take a short break, and we'll again come back to you. So please don't go away. We are talking to Mr. Shiv Khera about various issues of his campaign that is running, of a campaign called Country First. So please don't go, we'll come back soon. Welcome back to Top Shot, a program in which we talk to some distinguished personality on various issues. Today we have a very distinguished guest in midst of us, Mr. Shiv Khera, to whom we are talking about his campaign in an organization called Country First. So Mr. Khera, we are talking about your crusade for change in society, and you mentioned 3 issues. Do you think these are the 3 issues on which these are the cornerstones of a campaign for social change?
सबसे बड़ी बात ये है, सुरेश जी, कि in a country today, to do legal things, you got to do illegal things. You tell me, what kind of a democracy is that? And we keep talking of corruption all the time. And many times people say, कि साहब हम लोग यहाँ की corruption में क्यों बात करते हैं? Isn't there corruption all over? How do you like this? You think, is this a democracy?
So your 4th tenet of your campaign is corruption.
It's corruption. Now corruption is, when people talk of corruption is based on 2 things only. People say corruption को हटाना कैसे है? साहब जब तक हम corruption के roots को, causes को नहीं हटाएंगे, we can never get rid of corruption. Corruption comes only because of 2 reasons. One, corruption is either need-based or it is greed-based. And what starts as need-based, it converts into greed-based. Only the first one is difficult. आप देखें, I believe Mahatma Gandhi said this. There are no principles on an empty stomach. Don't try and teach values on an empty stomach. 50 करोड़ जनता जो रोज रात को भूखी सोती है, you want to teach them patriotism? What a joke. It doesn't work that way. That corruption at the bottom is not as bad as it is at the top. You know why? Because people, when they reach the top, they have gained public trust. They become role models. And when people at the top betray trust, they are actually public property and they are accountable to the nation. They become public property when you gain public trust. And this was clarified by a man called William Bennett in United States when Bill Clinton was being tried for Monica Lewinsky at that time. Because many people said, why do you bring personal life into professional life? Question is, how can you not bring personal life into professional life? And how can you separate them? This is proven all over the world. People who are honest at home are honest at work. People who are dishonest at home are also dishonest at work. You can't change personalities.
So this is all, corruption is another important issue. How do you, actually what's the campaign is going to be to accomplish all this? This seems to be a very tall agenda. How do you make, how you intend to have?
Dekhiye sahab, the only answer, the way I see it today, and that is that good people have to be brought into the decision-making process. And the decision-making process is they have to come into the parliament. And we must support them through any campaign, whether through an NGO or through a political platform, any platform, we must support them. There is no other answer. I don't see it. You cannot be a backseat driver anymore. Those days are gone.
So is your organization thinking of converting into a political party?
We are positively looking at many options. There are people who have already created some political platforms. They are inviting us to support them, and we are very seriously considering to support those people and very carefully looking selectively to pull out candidates in different constituencies. We have already identified 10. We have identified 3 in Delhi, 3 in Bombay, 1 in Gujarat, a couple in other different places. We are locating people who have credibility, who have visibility, who are above reproach, who are not up for sale, who don't sell their integrity on the market, and finally they are ready to go to jail for a cause, and they are resourceful.
So, so you would like your campaign to finally culminate into a regional political party?
No, we certainly are looking to support political candidates who are good candidates with credibility who can make a difference. And absolutely, we plan to do that.
But you think, basically, we are always talking about a system because, as you were correctly saying, there is a lot of malaise that we are now visibly seeing in the system. So what is important, changing system or just sending few people here and there will make the change?
Tell me something. Who makes the system? It is the people who ruin the system. It is the people who make the system. Yeah. And people, when they get into the decision-making process, tell me, आदमी पूछता है कि साहब, what is a qualification for a person to serve the nation? The only one qualification is to put the national interest above their own. That's all. What else is the qualification required?
Okay, so this is the qualification. That qualification has to be imbibed on the minds of people that nation comes first. That's
Correct.
What you're talking about. But that involves, the first point you're making was education. Now, is it not a good idea for an organization like yours to educate everybody possible, probably all the 1.1 billion people, so that the change will be automatic? Rather than that, is it a good idea to actually short-circuit the process and by saying that we'll send few people in the parliament?
Well, first of all, it's not short-circuiting. They go simultaneously, number one.
Okay.
You can't short-circuit. And number two is that both processes move simultaneously. Our process is moving, and we are looking to have volunteers all over the country. We are having people opening chapters all over, and we are making public addresses wherever and whenever we can. And now, of course, we are going with a time-bound agenda, which we need to plan out as we go along, because now you're talking of coming elections are about a year ago away from here. So we have to look at a short-term agenda and a long-term, agenda
So you
thereafter.
intend to fight the next election in next Lok
I
Sabha
intend to support good candidates for
I
the
know,
next
but
election.
your organization will support
Well,
candidates.
absolutely. I personally would, and I would take many, many other people along with me.
And how do you think you really decided to get into this? Because I think you were well known as a writer. You wrote a very successful book titled called You Can Win or I Can Win, something like that.
You Can Win.
You Can Win. So that was actually like to instill confidence in each person that if you really believe in something, you can win. So is it something, an extension of that concept, or this is something which is an offshoot of something else that really came in your mind that I need to change myself from this author to a campaigner?
Sureshi, you see, first of all, I want to make a point. Each person does not have just one identity.
Yeah.
But you see, what happens is, we as a person, I'm a citizen first and an author second. I must understand what my priorities are. I'm not an author first, I'm a citizen first. So when I look at that side, I look at it, what's my primary loyalty? If I don't have a country, well, where are my kids going to be? That's the next question.
So country comes first.
Country doesn't count, country come first. Tell me, when has it not come first? And all through freedom fighters, it's been the same story. And there are many people who say, well, why bother? How can it not bother you? Well, slavery bothered Gandhi, he fought. Ignorance bothered Swami Vivekananda, he came serve the society. Superstition bothered Guru Nanak, he came and served society. How can it not serve? How can we not do it? That's the question.
But we need a much bigger...
Of course.
We have so many problems that we need to solve. And for that, probably we need a very comprehensive blueprint of how we should solve it. Now, when you are trying to be a political party or a political organization or supporting candidates to come into politics, do you think it is required for you to come out with a blueprint about how you intend to solve country's problem?
Of course.
So is it something which is available for the people to understand?
Well, we are working on some kind of a manifesto.
Okay.
We have to work on a manifesto. Yeah. If we have to support certain political candidates, then we must come out with a political manifesto, which means what we stand for and what we stand against. Yeah. We have to be very clear, because most of the time you find people are sitting on the fence and they're not taking any stand anywhere.
So, Mr. Shiv Khera, thank you very much for talking to us on this show and talking to us on
various
issues.
And we need people like you. Keep that in mind. We need people like you. It is very important. People like you cannot retire forever.
No, I know. But thank you very much.
You belong to the nation. That's important.
No, thank you very much for joining this program. And this was Mr. Shiv Khera talking to us in Top Shot on an issue on which he thinks very strongly. So please join us next week in another episode in which we'll talk to another personality on an issue which is concerning you and me, the country, the people, and also the issues that are relevant to us. Thank you very much. Good night. Bye-bye.